All right, let's get right into it. If you're watching this, chances are you've got that dreaded check engine light staring back at you, and your code reader is flashing P0021. Well, don't sweat it. We're going to break down exactly what that means and give you a clear, step-by-step plan to get it sorted out. Let's do this.
Yeah, seeing that little light pop up is never fun, right? But it's not just a mystery light, it's a clue. You've already taken the first step by plugging in your scanner. So you're in exactly the right place to figure out what that clue means and what to do next.
So this is the code you're seeing, P0021. It's a pretty common one, actually. In this explainer, we're going to walk through what your car is trying to tell you, starting with the most likely culprits and working our way down. This way, you can tackle the problem logically without just throwing parts at it.
So, what is this P0021 code really all about? Let's decode the technical talk and get to the bottom of what's happening inside your engine. It all comes down to one critical thing: timing.
Okay, in plain English, your vehicle's main computer, its brain, is constantly watching what the camshafts are doing. This code means that the intake camshaft on a specific side of your engine, bank 2, is running a little too far ahead of schedule. Basically, it's out of sync, and that can mess with your engine's performance.
Now, you might be asking, what's a bank? Well, if you have a V-style engine, like a V6 or V8, it has two sets of cylinders, kind of like two arms of the letter V. Bank 1 is always the side with cylinder number 1. Bank 2 is the other side. This code is actually super helpful because it tells us to focus all our attention on just one side of the engine, bank 2.
All right, listen up, because this is probably the most important slide in this whole explainer. Before you buy any parts, before you even pick up a wrench, there is one place you absolutely have to start. It's the easiest, cheapest, and most common fix for this code. We're talking about your engine oil.
And this right here is the reason why. The system that controls your engine's timing is called the Variable Valve Timing, or VVT system. And guess what? It's hydraulic. It literally uses the pressure of your engine oil to make adjustments. So if your oil is low, dirty, or full of sludge, the whole system just can't work right. And that's often what triggers this code in the first place.
So your very first move is to pop the hood and check that dipstick. It's that simple. Is the oil level low? Well, top it off. Does the oil on the stick look really dark, thick, or gritty? If it does, a simple oil and filter change could literally be all it takes to fix this problem. I'm serious. Always, always start here. Okay, so what if your oil is clean, full, and looks great, but that pesky code comes right back? Well, now we can move on to the next logical step and start looking at the actual parts of that VVT system.
Let's meet our number one suspect, the VVT solenoid. You'll also hear it called an oil control valve. Think of this part as a little electronic gatekeeper. It takes orders from the engine's computer and opens or closes to let oil flow to the camshaft, which is what changes the timing.
So how do these little guys fail? Well, they have tiny passages that can get clogged up with sludge from dirty oil. Sometimes they just get physically stuck open or closed. Or it could be an electrical problem inside the solenoid itself. The good news is they're usually pretty easy to get to and aren't crazy expensive to replace.
Now, the VVT solenoid gives the orders, but the camshaft phaser is what actually does the work. This is the mechanical gear on the end of the camshaft. When the solenoid sends oil its way, this phaser rotates to physically advance or retard the timing. If this part fails internally, it won't matter what the solenoid is telling it to do.
All right, so if you've checked the oil and you've looked at the VVT components and you're still stuck, then it's time to consider some of the less likely but more serious possibilities.
And this is where things can get a bit more involved. We're talking about things like a timing chain that is stretched out over many, many miles, which throws the engine's base timing off. Or the tensioner that's supposed to keep that chain tight could have failed. A bad sensor is possible, but usually a failing sensor will throw its own specific codes too. These are big jobs, which is exactly why they're at the bottom of our diagnostic list.
You know, when you lay it all out like this in a table, it just makes so much sense. You can see why you never want to jump to the conclusion that you have a stretched timing chain. You start at the top with the very common and low complexity stuff, your oil, and you work your way down. This approach will save you a ton of time, money, and frustration.
So to wrap this all up, let's put it all together into one final super clear checklist. This is your game plan for tracking down and fixing that P0021 code for good.
And the most critical thing here is to follow these steps in order. Number 1, always, is check your oil. If that's good, move on to the VVT solenoid for bank 2. If you have a decent scan tool, you can actually watch the live data to see if the computer's commands are being followed.
only after you've ruled all of that out should you even start thinking about digging into the timing chain.
We've covered a lot here, from a simple oil check to some pretty major engine work. But the whole process boils down to starting in the right place. So now that you're armed with all this knowledge, what's your first step?